Come through, Queen. I wanna see ya. Come through, Queen.
Hi everyone, it's Brendan, and this is Come Through Queen. And this week, obviously, Dan's still out because he has a full baby. But we're welcoming back an oldie but a goodie, P to the show. Hi.
Hey everybody, how are you?
And I was saying in the pre-show that I haven't recorded an episode of this podcast with you in years.
I haven't seen you in years.
Yeah.
Tragic.
Well,
makes you feel sick.
hopefully this is the start of something new.
Yeah.
But there's lots happening, and actually I'm so excited because the Real Housewives of OC trailer came out today,
Praise.
and I think we've got something good.
It looks good.
There's so much to talk about it, but like Shannon Bedore looks incredible. Alexis Bellino is like somehow like firing on all cylinders.
What is it like? Get out the door, close the door, Shannon Bedore. What is her Dr. Seuss rhyme?
Didn't you like tweet something like "gay Dr. Seuss"?
I did do this. I did.
What were your initial thoughts?
It again, like firing on all cylinders, with the exception of like starting the trailer and seeing Teddy Mellencamp in the first 30 seconds is tough.
I think whoever edited the trailer listens to or reads Alex Hurst's tweets because that felt like a treat just for him. But I mean, she kind of was funny.
Yeah, but what is she hosting? Is she hosting like a Traitors?
I think they're doing Traitors. They're doing like an OC version of Traitors because they're all dressed like vaguely Scottish. And then like there's like after that they're like all blindfolded around a table.
And the idea of like Heather and Vicky turning to each other and saying like, I hate this woman is so spiritually healing.
Them being like under that coat to try to like protect their hair together was cute.
What did you think about the new girl? Katie?
So I think she has promise, and I was like doing weirdly, you know, I like to like go on Facebook, see like whose accounts are around. She grew up outside of Atlanta, so I was like, maybe you have mutual friends with her. Yeah.
Oh.
I think they went from Atlanta to San Diego to OC.
Okay.
But then I discovered that her husband's Facebook profile, he's like a prolific Facebook poster, and it's all public. But it's nothing, I didn't find anything really bad.
Is he an elder?
He is. I think he's a little older than her.
Okay.
But he's also like famous in the golf world, I think.
As a golfer?
No, like a golf, like editor of like a golf magazine or a website.
Wow.
And like appears on golf shows, which I think explains the connection to Sutton, who comes in, because Sutton's an Augusta girl. So like they probably all met each other at the Masters.
And it seems like she is picking Sutton's brain on how to deal with Heather.
Yeah.
Heather, who I'm so happy to see.
Heather, I was afraid after season 16 that she was going to fully retreat because like it wasn't her best season, and I feel like she was getting like criticism for being back.
Yeah.
But the fact that she's like listened to Sheryl Sandberg and leaned in.
Yes, correct.
Also, back to Katie for a second. The other research, I think she has a couple kids who are older. That she had her first daughter, I think she was like when she was like 20 with her ex-husband.
Okay.
So she has like a blended family.
Okay. Is she like late 30s? She could be any which age, but she seems young.
I would guess for early 40s.
Okay.
Just because of the context clues I got from the posts that her husband put up on his Facebook page, which I'm sure will be locked down by tomorrow.
I get a little sad about Emily still leaning into Heather hates me because I'm fat.
Yeah.
As a storyline.
Yeah.
Not only because I love Heather, but it seems hard.
Yeah, but now that it'll be interesting to see now that it's Heather versus Gina. So, like, I guess that might bring Gina and Emily closer again, but then they were fighting on the pickleball court. Why are we always doing pickleball?
The good thing about the trailer is everybody seems to be both getting along with and fighting everyone. So I have no clue what's happening, but what I'm seeing is appealing.
Yeah, it's a ton of group scenes, like, with everyone, and they're all fighting, but they're all getting back together. The unfortunate imagery of Shannon Bedore blowing into that breathalyzer to start her car. And, like, if you look in the background, Archie's, like, watching her do this.
He has trauma.
The shame. He was in that car, remember?
He was there. He saw it all happen.
So Shannon has been on Jeff Lewis Live a couple times since the DUI, and she says she doesn't drive because how complicated she finds the breathalyzer system. You apparently have to blow and hum at the same time.
Do you remember Danica from Vanderpump Rules, who famously had to do the car breathalyzer?
Yeah.
I wonder if there's any room for them to talk to each other.
Oh my God! Also, this girl I went to college with, who will remain unnamed.
Every woman I waited tables with in Kentucky also had that set up. There's enough people to teach Shannon how to navigate this.
Yeah, and not to, like, downplay, like, what she did was fucked up. And I think she's going to get grievances from Tamra, who is producer and queen.
I don't believe actually cares, but she's making a big deal about it nonetheless.
We are kind of getting a new fully plugged in Tamra because she now has this podcast where she talks about other franchises. She is a lot more producery, for better or for worse these days.
Yeah, I go back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
I have a tough relationship with Tamra, period.
Sure.
The weird thing is, like, I can't tell what is going on with the Tres Amigas, like, then, now, period. Is it Tamra, Vicky, Shannon's on the outs, or Shannon, Vicky, Tamra's on the outs? I can't figure out, like, in the triangle who is welcome.
I know. So Shannon's on the outs.
But Vicky and Tamra still...
Oh, no, sorry. Brain fart. Tamra's on the outs.
Okay.
And so Shannon and Vicky are doing live shows together, and they roped in one of Jeff Lewis's regular co-hosts, Doug Buden, to help them.
I think what I want is another, like, you were supposed to be my soulmate, my sister, fight between Vicky and Tamra. And I think there is a little bit of screaming between the two of them in the trailer. And I hope it, like, really gets teased out.
I think we will get there by next season. I don't think we're there yet. But I do think that, like, for the good of the show, Tamra will make that happen. And it's also just so funny. Vicky, like, always claiming she would never come back to the show unless she's holding an orange, but she always comes crawling.
There's nothing she won't do for screen time.
And just, like, catching strays from Teddy Joe.
To actually be subjected to a situation where she lines up and has Teddy Joe insult her, and she has to turn to Heather Dubrow, who also hates her, and just be like, ouch.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Teddy Joe as Alan Cumming, actually. Anything else about that trailer?
I'm trying to think. No, I'm just really excited.
Yeah, I mean, like, whatever happens with Alexis Bellino is going to be a mess. It's going
to be so good.
It's going to be so good. We also know that Joe comes back for at least, like, some guest roles. I think Gina Keogh's coming back. Tammy Knickerbocker will be in the mix.
It also seems like they're traveling a bunch. At the very least, like Palm Springs, London, and I think there were 2 other locations that like the budget seems where it needs to be.
Yeah.
Which is good. After like allegedly Potomac is going to Charlotte. So like at least the producers are paying for something.
Shout out Charlotte. I've spent some time there.
In the airport, I have been asleep at a rocking chair in the airport.
Oh yeah, they do famously have the white rocking chairs in like the airport in between terminals. That's so nice.
No, is it? Anyways.
Okay. Let's move on. Another really exciting thing happened this week, and we got the official Traitors Season 3 cast, speaking of Alan Cumming.
Yeah.
We're going to play a Come Through Queen classic, Care or Don't Care. I'll just go down the cast and say basically where they're from, and we'll go from there.
Yep.
So we're starting with Wells Adams from The Bachelorette and Bachelor in Paradise, and I think he's married to Sarah Hyland from Modern Family.
I know nothing about Bachelor Nation. I do feel like sort of like spiritually you have to commit to either Bravo or Bachelor, and you can't do both. People may disagree, but like I know nothing about him, so don't care.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that like he's married to a pretty famous girl who's on this big successful show, but whose like career I don't think like panned out in the way after as much. Yeah.
But also like Pilot Pete was lovely.
Yeah.
So who knows?
I saw Pilot Pete was hanging out with like Peppermint recently. I think they went to a Broadway show together like a couple weeks ago.
Good.
Next is Sam Asghari, actor and model, and obviously ex-husband to Britney Spears.
Anybody who's spent a fair amount of time on Britney Spears' Instagram, like, I don't think that man knows left from right. I don't think he knows where he is. Like,
yeah,
don't care, but like, ooh, like to figure something out, anything out.
Also, is NBCU casting a potential bigger villain than Tom Sandoval?
Oh. I mean, not possible.
Yeah.
Real possible.
So, like, I care because I think the discourse will be interesting. Like,
also, do you find him hot?
Yeah, I mean, like, he's just, like, he's hot in, like, a way that's, like, classic Instagram hot.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chanel Ayan from The Real Housewives of Dubai.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great confessionals. Gonna have a great time.
Totally. We'll have probably the best looks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just get, like, I cannot wait to see what she does with Tartan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hats.
Great. Bob the Drag Queen, RuPaul's Drag Race.
I think a real contender, winner. Either for, like, traitor or winner or both, like, actually really gonna do this.
Yeah.
And, like, give you everything you need.
My question is, will Bob go... It's always interesting when the Drag Race girls come in to see how they go as far as, like, presentation.
Yeah.
Like, will she go drag most of the time? Will she go halvesies? Like, for example, Alyssa Edwards is on The GOAT, which I've kind of been watching, and she kind of goes halvesies. And, like, when Alaska was on that Scared Famous show, she also went halvesies. Yes.
I mean, I wonder, like, it could be anything. I wonder with Traitors, because it's so much about, like, country tartan, sort of like leather plaid looks, if Bob would lead toward female presenting, but I think we could do anything.
Yeah. Also coming to avenge one of her best friends, Peppermint.
Yeah.
Dolores from Real Houses of New Jersey.
Also, I feel like I've been defending as a great decision, and I feel like she's going to do great. But granted, like, we'll get to it with Jersey. I'm turning into you. Like, I love this woman.
Yeah.
But I'm very excited.
Yeah, and I just think she will be like mother of the house, like this motherly figure. Actually, funny enough, to mention The GOAT again, because I've been watching Jill Zarin's having success on that show, because I think she actually is becoming a motherly figure for like all the women in the show. Like she's becoming close with Davon from Big Brother randomly, which it's so interesting. Anyways, this is starting to get into territory that I'm not that great on, but Jeremy Collins from Survivor.
Okay, so Jeremy is great in Survivor. Like, really clever, really lovable, really hot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one of the genuinely hottest of the Survivor pack. But he's good and smart and clever and will be fun.
Great. Can't wait. Robin Dixon, Real Housewives of Potomac.
I have said this on Twitter.com and I'll say it again. I'm wondering whether if Robin doesn't wake up for her alarm, they will think that she has been murdered, but she's just sleeping in bed or she's like wandering around. I don't trust her to know where she is at any given time. I think she's going to be like Sheree, amped up to the point that she doesn't realize she's playing a game.
Yeah, like some people were saying that she's going to make Sheree look like a genius.
I think that's right.
Dylan Efron.
I know nothing about this man.
Me neither. I just looked at his Instagram. He's like,
how did that make you feel?
He looks great. I think privates. Like in a world where like Zac Efron's going one way, I think this man is bringing us a little more down to earth. Zac Efron.
I think it's a place I'd rather be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moving on. So Nikki Garcia, who is from Total Divas, the WWE world.
I don't know. I know nothing.
I like kind of know who she is. Is she a Bella twin?
Is she? I think.
Maybe.
Nikki Bella seems like a set of words that I've heard.
Like, I only would have heard about her maybe like on an episode of like Who Weekly from like 6 years ago.
That's where I'm digging. That's where I'm digging into. Does that mean? Wait, did she date Did she date Channing Tatum?
I thought that was like Jenna Dewan.
Well, then after that, I thought it was Jessie J and then Nikki Bella.
Okay, maybe I'll Google. So like I think those kind of people I could potentially fall in love with. It's
sure.
Like going into last season, I had heard of Parvati, but I didn't know her, but fell in love with her.
That's your problem.
I know that's my problem. And then like even like fucking Burgalicious was on Love.
Well, that could have gone anywhere, and I agree.
Yeah. Okay, Bob Harper from The Biggest Loser.
I was attracted to that man when I was tiny and gay, and I still kind of am.
I just don't know if I like the ethics of like the show that he's coming from.
Of course.
So I don't know.
I think it's probably a farm that gives like methamphetamines to like people who are overweight. It's probably terrible, but I'm a little bit attracted to him.
Like them having to stand on that like huge scale.
And have
is bad.
Sammy from Days of Our Lives make them feel bad about themselves. It's a terrible show, but I don't know anything about him post that.
Me neither. So, yeah. Okay. Here's one who I love. Brittany Haynes from Big Brother.
Greatest confessionals in the game.
I think one of the funniest people to ever come from that show.
Yeah.
It's not a show where a ton of people are funny.
I think it's like a full Phaedra. Like she's going to be...
Totally. Yeah. And I'm hoping she gets smart and like makes an alliance with Bob, the drag queen.
Love.
And like tries to go from there. I think she might. Okay, so Boston Rob from Survivor, Amazing Race, Deal or No Deal Island.
I'm tired. I'm tired already. Yeah. Do you know anything about this?
I know about him.
He's going to make you really exhausted.
Is he going to be like a Johnny Bananas type?
Yeah, but like worse.
Okay.
If Johnny Bananas felt like he were smarter and more entitled.
Yeah. I just also think anybody who like goes by a city where they live or have lived is just like, please.
What's really bad is like, I might be in the minority for this. Boston Rob's wife, who is also a Survivor winner, is kind of great.
Okay.
And like, just get Amber to do it. She would be like clever and keyed in and not trying to like suck all the air out of the room.
Isn't it funny how many men, how many bad men marry good
all
women?
The air out of the room. Yeah.
Speaking of sucking all the air out of the room, Dorinda Medley.
Dorlinda. Yeah, I do think we need to clarify that for some reason an official like cast announcement had her name listed as Dorlinda.
Good.
I do think like friend to the show in my head, Dolcom Booster had tweeted something that I think that we all need to remember, which is in the first 5 minutes of the show, Dorinda will say the words, "This isn't Bluestone Manor, but," for sure.
Totally, because even when I was watching Traitors Season 1, I was like, this castle is doing Bluestone cosplay. Like that one room, it's like all the like the purples and the greens and like the pool table and all of that. Yeah.
But we all want, like, what we all want is drunk, slurring Dorinda being upset. But we have read that there is a drink limit within the castle. So we may not get Dorinda saying, "You better, sure, well, I will listen." We may not get that.
There was somebody, not to speak of the internet too much, but there was somebody who posted about the drink limit and also being like, if Dorinda, this is a video of Dorinda like cheersing a martini, and like this is Dorinda if she was given the Parvati mission of trying to hand the chalice with the poison to somebody, and it's like her like slurping the martini and forgetting.
Yeah,
love her.
It's gonna be weird, y'all.
It's gonna be so weird because I think she's gonna wanna like come across as like motherly, like Dolores will naturally come across motherly, but then she'll turn. Because she always turns.
She always loses track of the plot.
Okay, so this is an interesting one, I would say. Sierra Miller from Summer House.
I have controversial feelings.
Oh, no.
I think she's an idiot.
Maybe. But I think she's coming off of a really good season for her.
I love that you think that.
Of Summer House.
Yeah, I love that you think that.
I'm not like jonesing for her to be on this cast. There's like, I wanted it to be Paige and Craig to come in as a couple. Yeah. But I'm excited to see her in this weird element.
I'm just saying I would like to see her do 2 days of New York Times connections before I even believe that we should be chucking her in here. I think there are other options that we could explore, and I think, God bless, she's very pretty, and I hope she has a good time.
For the record, that game is hard for me as well, Sierra, if you're listening. Okay, this is a randomista one. Lord Ivar Mountbatten.
Wait, I did research. Do you
He's
know
gay.
it? Thank God. The most important thing, Pride Month, he is gay.
He's like the gay cousin of Prince Charles.
Yeah.
He's married to, I think, somebody named James Coyle, and my mom's maiden name is Coyle, so I might be related.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's certainly true. But, like, yeah, I don't know what's... The Wikipedia page is very interesting.
Yeah, I agree. But also there's the added thing of, like, I want to say Alan Cumming, the host, like, gave back some award he got from, like, the British Royals because he was like, I now hate y'all, like, within the past 3 years.
Okay.
So that dynamic will be interesting.
I just really like that he made his ex-wife give him away to his future husband.
That is allyship.
And in Pride Month.
Yeah. If I ever get married, that's like Jamie
You're
giving me
a
away.
high school girlfriend.
No, Jamie and I never dated, but it's like Jamie giving me away. Okay, so next on the list is Danielle Reyes from Big Brother.
Icon,
Yeah.
hero, genius. 10, 10, 10, 10, 10.
Yeah, the interesting thing here for those of you who don't watch Big Brother, this December they did something called the Big Brother Reindeer Games. And both Brittany and Danielle were on that. And I think Danielle left that show with a bad taste in her mouth about Brittany.
Oh.
So that'll be interesting to revisit. And it could be like a Parvati Sandra thing where they actually just like make up, or it could go a different way.
Love that.
Yeah.
I will say also, not to interrupt, but like, we don't have any challenge people.
Correct.
After a season where 2 challenge people won.
Yeah, and I think
it's like filming stuff, right? It's scheduling stuff, but it feels weird. Good weird, but weird.
Dan said that they were like filming their like 40th season, and so that like a lot of the legends are on that. I don't know. Okay, Tom Sandoval.
I think they have to do the trolliest thing in the entire world and make him a traitor.
Yeah.
I know he'll get found out immediately, but I think it's too funny not to do.
Yeah, I also just think, like, what will the Bravo people, like, what will their reactions be to him?
Especially, that makes Sierra more interesting because I think Sierra will be more likely to be like, F this guy immediately.
Totally, because Summer House is a spinoff.
Yeah.
Next in line is Chrishell.
This is who I want to be a traitor and who I think will actually could like win the whole game. I think this is a smart woman who was partially born in a shell station in Kentucky.
Yes.
I think I'm rooting hard.
You really think that she could win it all?
I do.
Okay.
I don't know why. There's like a feeling in my gut that she is smarter than we think she is.
Yeah, I think like queer people are inherently smarter.
I agree.
No, I'm rooting for her too. I kind of like, when I think about like who I want to all be friends, I'm putting her, Bob, and Brittany together in my brain.
I'm putting her, Bob, and Danielle as traitors and letting them run to the end. I know it can't be that simple, but
yeah. Next is Tony from Survivor.
The worst person you will ever encounter.
He's won twice?
Correct.
Yeah.
He's the worst. Like, the worst.
Yeah.
The worst.
Yeah, so when I saw this cast, I was like, I need to get, like, a voice memo from, like, somebody who knows the Survivor people, because that's my one blind spot.
So, sort of like, I would say, cop needs attention so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Willing to do sort of, like, full-scale stunts. What he's known for in Survivor is, like, making himself little hidey holes where he can spy on people talking with one another, and then he pops out in camouflage and is like, hey.
So he'll be like hiding behind like objects in the house.
He'll be in the armor.
Oh my god.
And sort of like spying on people. It's just, I find it incredibly annoying.
Yeah, and that is fun when Mercedes does it in season 2, but I don't think like this guy who is a cop, I don't think it'll be fun.
He needs applause to live, Tinkerbell style. Like, he needs it, and it's really exhausting for an audience, I feel like.
Mm-hmm. He lives for the applause. Yeah. Okay, so Carolyn, who I know is kind of newer.
An absolute, like, 10 out of 10, like, Brendan, just right up the alley, like, your favorite person. Get ready. You haven't encountered her. This is a person who God created for you to love. And I'm so excited for you to take her in.
Okay, because the other person who I asked about her said she was unwell, so maybe that all tracks.
I mean, I don't think what I said and what was conveyed to you are contradictory pieces of information. But what I will say is I feel like you will feel like she's really special and you'll take her into your heart and you'll treasure her forever.
Okay, good. I cannot wait.
She's got a lot of tattoos. She's a substance abuse counselor. She's incredibly smart. Everyone else thinks that she's like blindly stumbling through her life.
Yeah.
And in actuality, she's like really, really, really clever. She's just conveying stuff in her own pidgin language that nobody else gets.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I cannot wait. And then the last person is Gabby Windey from The Bachelorette. And I think her big thing is that she like came out as queer after she did the show.
I don't know her, and I support her.
Yeah, I think she's just like a cute queer woman.
God bless.
Which we love.
Yeah.
Happy Pride. So there's that. I'm sure we'll get this by January.
I heard from my fiance, which may be a total lie, that they started filming like yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm ready.
I know they're definitely away. But yeah, that'll be exciting. Okay, let's do one more bit of news. It's kind of a bleaker subject. We'll just talk about it and move on to our shows.
Yeah.
So the Associated Press reports that the ex-husband of a Real Housewives of New Jersey's cast member was convicted Tuesday on charges he hired a mobster to assault a woman's boyfriend in exchange for a free, lavish wedding reception. A federal jury found Thomas Manzo of Franklin Lakes guilty of conspiracy, falsifying and concealing documents, and committing a violent crime in aid of a racketeering activity. That sounds serious to me. The ex-husband of Real Housewives cast member Dina Manzo faces up to 46 years in prison when he's sentenced October 15th. I think we all kind of know the details of this. We talked about this on the podcast years ago at this point.
It's sort of sad, like, what happened to Dina is absolutely terrible and sort of, like, indefensible and sad. The interesting thing about this seems to be, like, something that we don't have a lot of insight into, which is the fact that Dina's ex-husband is Caroline's husband or Dina's ex-husband's brother.
Yeah.
Like that whole circle of siblings. And Caroline sort of like picking sides with her brother-in-law instead of her sister. But I don't know how much anybody can really read into that. It just seems dark.
Yeah, agreed. And then also, this isn't even... There were 2 attacks, because this was the first one that was 2015, and then there was the other one that happened, I think, 2 years later when Dina and her now husband went to Jersey, because they live in California now, but went to Jersey to go to one of Teresa's daughter's christenings, and then they got attacked in Dina's old home in Jersey or something like that.
Wait, they got attacked twice?
Yeah.
Which one happened with the little, like, slapjack thing where it extends?
This one is... The one that we're reading about is only about Dina's boyfriend at the time, now husband, being attacked. And then Dina herself was attacked. And I think she had to have, like, facial reconstruction surgery after it.
Jesus Christ.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think, like... I want to say me and Dan talked at length about this in like an episode from like early COVID if you want to seek out that weirdness.
Either way, I'm happy that man that was in one episode of Real Housewives of New Jersey in the very beginning is going to jail.
Yeah.
Gross.
Speaking of that, let's go over to Jersey.
Whee! Also, like... conversations about jail.
Yeah.
They can't stop going to prison and talking about prison in Real Housewives in New Jersey.
There's this news that like has been confirmed that they're not going to have a reunion this year.
Yeah. And I wonder, like, Andy Andrew has famously said that this is because the finale is so shocking and cathartic that they don't feel like they need a reunion because everything sort of like gets out on the table in the finale, and I'm not sure how much credence we should give to that.
Yeah, I agree, but I also, like, not to jump ahead, watching the Valley finale, I was like, stuff was wrapped up in a way that was satisfying for them to jump into the next season, but I don't think that's necessarily going to happen with Jersey.
Jersey feels like we're in a much more fractured place because I'm not sure, like, who even likes each other anymore in New Jersey, other than maybe Marge and Melissa, like, and I guess maybe Jen and Jackie. Like, who likes each other? We're in like sub 3 people if you're just talking about 2 people that like each other, like pairs who likes each other.
And it's hard to tell like what's real and what's performative, because I do feel like love Jackie, but I do feel like a lot of what her and like Jen are doing on social is like for show or something.
And I am like a famed Jackie defender, but like everybody is positioning themselves for lasting on the show rather than positioning like their real relationships.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then I do think that like maybe Jen Aiden and Teresa are just like that meme of like two dummies,
dumb girls
like,
saying exactly.
That's exactly what I get from them.
Exactly. You're not wrong.
And that's beautiful.
Sometimes it's necessary.
Yeah.
How did you feel about this episode generally?
So I watched it first on Sunday, then I rewatched it today, and it's just like nothing really stuck for me. I'm like, we're having this big fight about information that this hair stylist brought to us about Danielle, which is actually classic Jersey. We always have like these weird like outside characters trying to start the drama. But I don't know. I don't care about Danielle's fashion show in New York Fashion Week.
And I also feel like we don't have, wait, did we have the hairstylist? We did have her at that stupid dog party.
But but then there's another hairstylist who was the hairstylist that, did you hear this story? That Danielle hired like hair and makeup people to come to Vegas for BravoCon, but then put them at like a shitty motel that was like not on the strip, and it was like 30 minutes away via Uber without traffic.
Good for her.
And so one of that woman, the hairstylist, was on you know whose podcast today.
Oh.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. Talking about it. So it's just like all this like weird drama that it's like, it's not hitting with me in the way that I want it to.
It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why, like, the lines aren't connecting for me, but it doesn't make me want to care.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not somebody who like usually just like hates on a show, and I don't want to hate on Jersey because I do. Those used to be my girls. That was the first Housewives I watched.
I guess the couple of things that are interesting to me is Rachel Fuda dog walks Teresa.
Yeah.
Just fully like pulls her around. And then Dolores, after Teresa leaves, saying like, Teresa's not smart enough to understand what you've just done, but it will come to her in a dream in 2 days, and then she's going to murder you and your entire family. That is interesting to me.
I thought that was so interesting too. Like Dolores being this like coach,
and like
in a way,
fully impartial. Like, I'm not taking sides. I'm not telling you what you or Teresa did was right or wrong. I'm telling you what I see as the Oracle of Delphi, this is what will come to pass.
It's also Dolores must just know everything about everyone. Because if you look at her, she feels like somebody you might be able to trust.
I'm fully Dolores built. I feel like you've entered my brain recently. That like I do look at her and I think this is the most beautiful woman that God ever created.
Also, the one random fact that I love to bring up all the time is that like she fully, when her and Polly are in Ireland, they listen to Connor, our friend's radio show.
To have a beautiful woman like that listen to your radio show, Connor.
But I don't know this for a fact, but I think she might have been weird around the Dina stuff, so let's not stand too hard.
Oh, I know. Well, I think rule number 1 of this particular podcast is don't stand a housewife. But I think the sort of like the Jackie Melissa from this episode was really, 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 really interesting. Mm-hmm. That like Melissa sort of jumped into a fight and said, you remember what Teresa, wait, was it Melissa or Marge who said like, you remember what Teresa did to Jackie, and Jackie just got fully upset and was like, do not under any circumstances bring me into this.
Yeah, and wasn't like Teresa being like, Jackie, don't listen to them or something like that from like the other
earlier
side of the
in the episode when like Teresa was saying I will refollow Jackie when she was on speakerphone with Jen Aiden saying like we'll be friends again.
And that is the classic. Teresa did the classic thing that people do on Instagram of following somebody then liking 3 posts.
I don't know. It's weird watching this because like I have no affiliation to Teresa whatsoever. I used to really like Margaret.
Yeah.
I still like Melissa. I really like Jackie. I have like complicated but positive feelings about Fuda and Danielle. But everything feels short-circuited and it's almost too overwhelming to like sit in.
Yeah. For me, like, I think I echo what you think, except like I don't really care about Danielle at all. And then Fuda, I can see her place in all of this. And I do, like, I'm looking forward to next week's episode where the Fudas and the Louis sit down and, like, they all insult each other with, like, their various, like, New Jersey insults. And I do think that will be fun.
I thought you liked Danielle because you want to do little closed mouth kisses on the mouth with Nate Cabral.
Oh, no, I like when he's around. I hope he's just there.
Just Nate Cabral.
No, and it's like, it's
and
also...
a little bow tie.
It's so funny because, like, I don't really care for any of the men, but I would like Nate Cabral and Evan to be around just even if their wives aren't on the show.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to move to Dubai? I know that you didn't really watch last season.
And the weird thing is I didn't watch Dubai and I haven't gone on. I know you're like a deep scholar of Ladies of London.
Oh, yeah.
And so I've heard a lot about Caroline Stanbury and I've always felt like it felt like she was being graded on a curve.
Yeah.
That people were like expecting her to come in and like tear the house down. And then they were upset that she was just like a regular old housewife. So it was weird for me to come in fresh to this episode. And it was, I thought, a lot of fun.
I agreed. And I think actually, so with Caroline Stanbury, I think she had, her the first season of Ladies of London wasn't that great. Second season, did it get 3 or 4? Second season, I think, was the standout. I think what works with Caroline Stanbury, she has that, like, British sense of humor that I think probably was one of the standout kind of moments with, like, her sit down with Ion in this episode.
When you got a little taste of, like, her and Ion, essentially Ion being like, I don't know if I know how old I am. And then Stanbury saying, like, she may be older than me, in which case I'm going to, like, cook this bitch.
Exactly. Yeah. And that it's like those kind of moments that I think like were really successful for her in Ladies of London, especially like her friendship with like Juliet Angus, who is like this annoying American.
Well, everybody on Ladies of London I thought was named like Julie or Juliet or Julia. There were like 75 Julies and they were all the Earl of Sandwich. And it like felt like it was too much for me to learn.
It was half Julie and Juliet's and then half Caroline's, actually.
Julie's and Julia's and 75 Caroline's.
Yeah, and then like what's his name? McQueen's muse was on it.
Oh, that woman that died on a horse or something.
I don't think she died on a horse.
Well,
but yeah.
Rest her soul, but in my mind she died on a horse.
Yeah, Annabelle. She actually was interesting to watch.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's I think they decided to like be fun this first episode, which I appreciate.
The Beyonce stuff was really fun.
Yeah. And like just like the editing of like who's in the VIP that's actually behind, like the better VIP that's actually behind like the VIP that some of them were in.
There were like box seats for the VIP that Ayan and Lisa were in, where they were further away, but they feel like they had a better view and they felt more important.
And they were with Kendall Jenner.
And they were with Kendall Jenner. And then there were closer seats to the stage that were the regular VIP with 1V that was Caroline Brooks and Caroline Stanbury.
Yeah.
And they got sweated on by Beyonce, so they felt superior. And then Sarah Al-Madani was not interested in attending.
What's your read on Sarah?
I wonder how I'm going to feel. That's one that I feel like I need 4 more episodes to cook on.
Mm-hmm.
How was she in the first season?
She just comes across as like holier than thou. Like she is this very, like she feels like she's this very centered person who has everything figured out.
But does she lash out? Does she ever sort of like expose that she's not that? Does she like lash out and get mean, or is it always this like almost prissy and very like spiritual sort of like?
I think it's
I'm
mostly prissy, but I feel like she might have moments this season potentially of lashing out.
That like Talene, what is her
the brand new girl? Yeah,
she's a Jen Aiden cousin.
Yeah,
but she seemed very much like in the mix immediately. No sort of issues about like she didn't feel artificial to the show at all.
She came in fully baked.
Yeah,
I felt.
yeah,
for sure. Yeah, and I guess she was friends with Caroline Brooks.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
How do we feel about Brooks? Is Brooks well?
I don't know. She has moments where she has lashed out last season.
I'm worried about her.
She's like a Boston girl, which is very interesting. I just like a lot of these people. I'm like, how did you come to live in this space?
Yeah. I mean, I worried about just even that scene with her, like, setting up that spa with her ex-husband. Like, I feel like she's killed before and she'll kill again.
Oh, my God.
Like, I'm worried about Brooks.
Yeah.
Lisa Milan is the prettiest woman I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And she had, like, her big moments during BravoCon. Like, she had, like, some read of, like, Phaedra that, like, was one of, like, the most iconic BravoCon moments, I guess.
Somebody Phaedra wearing, rented dresses or something. It was sort of the same thing that, like, Ayan gave to Sarah at the end. There was some fight about, like, rented clothing.
I think it was, like, something Sheen. It was clever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, after seeing the first episode, I'm more excited than I was, probably. It's just, like, tough 2 years later trying to get back into the show.
I know. And they're moving it, actually, from Sundays to Tuesdays. Did you see that?
I saw that. The scheduling's tough. I mean, I prefer Tuesday.
If you keep making it hard for me to watch it, like, I want to care about this.
Yeah.
Jersey makes me feel bad. I want something light, and I want a Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Stop giving me obstacles, Andrew.
Yeah. And then, like, just for me personally, the fact that OC will be Thursdays, it's like, I don't like when my favorite shows are on Thursdays because, like, logistically, it means what we're doing tonight is recording, then watching the Summer House reunion, and then getting back on mic.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Do you want to move on to the Valley? I actually don't know if I've heard your thoughts on the Valley, but I do feel...
I have so many.
I just have, like, a cosmic thought coming to me that, like, you probably have a big opinion on Janet.
So in the Valley, to me, is a show about two queer people, Jasmine and Zach, being terrified by heterosexuality at every turn and trying to cope with it. And Zach is like sort of coping with it by becoming the monster.
Yeah.
And Jasmine is like having a breakdown at the pressure of like oppressive heterosexual hell like wearing down.
Oh my
on
God.
her.
And in this essay, P. Will, like that would
Yeah.
be a great essay for like a media studies class at Emerson College, actually.
Although the queerness of it, I do want to say, like, did you see the old interview of Sheena from like 2 seasons ago on Vanderpump Rules talking about how she hated Dana? Do you remember Dana with a Y?
Oh, I was just listening to her podcast today.
About how Dana with a Y, like, that first of all, Janet was dating Max. And Dana with a Y wanted to have a threesome with Janet and Max.
Oof.
And that's why Sheena, whose best friend is Janet, hates Dana with a Y.
Oh my God.
Like, the interconnectedness of Vanderpump and the Valley is wild.
It's great. And then like Dana with a Y not being on any of these shows anymore.
Yeah, but still doing the Katie Maloney podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was listening to, they did an interview with Ariana, I think last week that I was listening to this morning.
Was it okay? Was it good?
I haven't gotten through the entire thing, but it was fine. Did you see that Diane Keaton went to something about her today?
Yay!
That is wild.
But Janet darks me out a little bit only because, like, listen, like, Zach's not well. Like, and I'm not claiming that Zach is well, but I do think there's a sense where Zach is a gay person in a room with a raised voice, and Janet is like, I think you're trying to kill me. I need to exit this room because you're trying to carve my baby out of me. And she like makes it a full to-do. She like plays victim very quickly.
Yeah, I see that. But also like she is 8 months pregnant. So to be filming this reality show 8 months pregnant must be a lot.
That is also a decision that she had made.
Yeah. Well,
like,
I think
against anybody's better judgment.
I think like she's been probably trying to be in this circle and like potentially
for
be on this show for
decade,
years.
Yeah.
And she finally, the timing of her actually getting her opportunity is when she happened to be pregnant. Yeah. That's why I think like she feels like a lot this season. Next season,
I think it's gonna be her takedown season.
It's wild.
She's really gonna. I think she's setting herself up for a huge hit.
And I just can't believe that like one of her like best gay friends is that guy Simon Curtis, who's like
I'm sorry, I just want to quote this show. Gay pop star Simon Curtis, who Dan saw opening for Sky Ferreira. It's canon for the show, and I feel like we have to do the whole phrase.
Thank you.
I listen, and I think that we have to repeat the whole of it.
It's just like, it's so funny because, I mean, we've been like on Twitter since like the old ages when things were a lot different, but I feel like he was like around in our like Twitter circles in like 2012 or whatever.
Yeah.
And now he's here.
On the show getting drug for his boots. Did they show his boots?
They were like those Croc boots.
Okay.
They showed them. It wasn't this episode. It was a reference from the James May launch party or like whatever we sat through.
All right.
Where like Helmet Hair was crying. Zach.
Yeah. I referenced this, but also famously, like, core to my identity is the fact that Brittany grew up 45 minutes away from me, and I don't understand how her accent is her accent.
Yeah.
You don't sound like that. Something is wrong. Like, date night, like, you're not going to date night. Something is amiss with how is her accent still like that?
I think if we went back to earlier Vanderpump Rules, her accent isn't this intense, and I think it's like...
I think it's clown work.
Yeah.
I think it's clownery.
Yeah. Complimentary.
Southern clown. But
it's crazy.
I will say, like, I go back and forth with her. Like, Southern clown complimentary, yes, but also, like, in a sense, you knew exactly what you were doing when you married Jax Taylor, sure.
I mean, the rumors are that she hunted him down in Vegas.
Yeah, but in a deeper sense, like, Jax Taylor, you've been verbally abusing this woman for some time, and when she stands up for herself, at the very least, you could have the dignity to let her and your son keep the house. Right. And move into an extended stay Hilton.
Yeah.
Just so your son doesn't have to be displaced, you weirdo.
Yeah, where I come from, the dad goes and stays in a weird hotel, not the mom.
Also, Brittany's right. That's how we do it in Kentucky. That's how it, like, come on.
Yeah.
So I ended up, like, really sympathetic to Brittany. Who I'm not sympathetic for, oddly enough, is Michelle, who I think is a Terminator.
Yeah.
A Terminator robot.
Yeah. Sorry, the police are coming to get P for his thoughts about Janet.
It's thought crimes. They're taking me away, y'all. They're taking me to date night.
Anything else you want to get off your chest in general about the Valley?
No, I just think it's a good show, and I'm excited it exists.
Yeah. Also, I read the reviews for Jax's. And you know that Jax's exists as like an extension of an already existing bar called Rocco's. And it's not the Rocco's that Lance Bass owns in West Hollywood. It's like some other Rocco's in Studio City.
Oh, I thought Lance Bass might have had an association because Lance Bass officiated Jax's wedding.
I know, but I don't think it's the same space or kind of space. Maybe I'm wrong. Lance, if you want to call in.
Do you think Lisa has a
stake?
Passive stake?
Maybe.
A 5% or so? I don't know. But anyways.
Lisa is an executive producer of the show, which is interesting because she hasn't made a choice to be on it.
Yeah. My only thought is more Dodie.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've done everything right this season, more Dodie.
Yeah. And I did like your framing about the show being about two queer people trying to deal with heterosexuality.
Poor Jasmine. I want Jasmine and her girlfriend
to be main cast.
And I do want Zach to be main cast, and then I want it to be Get Out, where Zach and Jasmine try to escape.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, like, Zach was also, I think he was the focus of the Bravo Pride at WeHo float. So
he's from Kentucky too.
I know, he was Brittany's friend, and then he switched allegiances.
Hey y'all. Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll do Summer House next. Okay, Summer House. Thoughts?
Well, that was a lot. I don't know. It was a lot on... I thought it was going to be just a lot about Carl and Lindsay, and it was a lot on a lot of fronts, and I don't feel great about any of them.
Yeah, so... First, I just wanted to draw focus to Carl's footwear, which was really taking me out. Yeah. And, like, first of all, the shoes were one thing. And those shoes, I think both Ariana and Tom Sandoval wore when they were in San Francisco during, like, that whatever theme party they went to.
I didn't notice them looking like Scandinavian orphans, but...
Just, like, it was the added... white socks with the white pants and those specific shoes.
It felt really like a little Dutch boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got a little bit of the Carl and Lindsay stuff from the jump. And I think it's helpful if you kind of explain where you stand with all the cast, because you turned to me while we were watching and you said, I think I disagree with the Kirsts about which is Dan and Alex, about basically every person on this cast.
So listen, like, I understand that Lindsay is difficult.
Yeah.
Of course Lindsay is difficult. But
you see yourself in her.
I see myself in her. And also, I think that, like, what Kyle did to Carl last season, when it comes to outing his addiction,
at that, like, psycho dinner,
is unforgivable.
Yeah.
And I think that Amanda's participation in Kyle's existence makes her sort of like complicit in all of this. And Amanda is not like innocent about this because she married a psychopath. She's enabling and facilitating one.
Yeah,
and
it's an interesting space for her to be, because like sometimes with Amanda, I'm like, oh, she's making good points in this particular argument, but then I'm like, how did you really like marry Kyle?
Yeah, it was crazy. And so, like, I think a lot of this season is about Lindsay sort of saying, first of all, I don't want to be in the show anymore. I want Carl and I to find a job that is unrelated to Bravo, or unrelated to Summer House, but is a separate Bravo show.
Yeah.
Two, if we can't find that, I don't want you working with a psychopath who used your addiction to psychologically torture you 12 months ago. And so it's weird to see, like, Carl hard pivot to being like, actually, again, Kyle is my best friend and I love him.
Right.
And Lindsay being expected to be like, I'm going to fall in line and let my husband bang himself in the crotch with a hammer. Like, what is she supposed to do?
I do think it was helpful during the reunion. They did play that one clip from last season where it was like Kyle storming out, where it was like most of the people in the house were having like blanket time in the living room or something, which I didn't know adults do. And that's when he was like saying horrible things about both Carl and Lindsay. I think Andrea was there. Sam was there. Remember her?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was like, Kyle was having like a classic, like, he loves a tantrum.
And did Kyle ever actually apologize to Lindsay for all of the stuff that he did last year?
I don't really know. But then he kind of in this reunion was like, well, we're kind of like brother and sister where we always get back to a good place.
But like, I feel like Lindsay is expected to fall in line and is made to seem like a psychotic monster when she doesn't. And it's a little bit hard for me to witness. Not that Lindsay is not, again, like, really difficult, but it's like, it's hard to be in this show.
All of Lindsay's kind of issues and like why she's difficult, I can point back to the reasons why she is. With everyone else, I'm like, no, you're fucked up even though you come from like a good, loving family.
Exactly. Lindsay is petrified about a person that she loves turning on her, hurting her, or leaving her because she has abandonment issues related to her mother.
Yeah.
Like, all of this is sort of like well established. And to be honest, like, in all fairness to Carl and his goddamn porcelain veneer teeth, like, everything related to Carl has been
about his
very
brother.
much laid out with his brother and his parents. Everybody else, it's like, I don't know what is wrong with Amanda Batula. It seems like she's had a great life, but we're just like led to go along with it.
I know.
Or
like,
Kyle, or like, or honestly, Paige is a monster and we don't talk about that, but
that's interesting. It is interesting. Like, when I encounter people who are my age or older who like both parents are still alive and like still married, I'm like, what?
Okay.
What? I haven't experienced that in 20 years.
Do you like smile and hold hands with each other? Like, Christmas sounds nice.
Yeah. I want to actually land back on for you. I do love Paige, but like, what is your problem with her?
So I think Paige has been really cruel to Lindsay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it started with Lindsay not welcoming Hannah and Paige into all of this, which is probably when like Lindsay was her most monstrous.
Yeah.
When they were coming into the show.
Season 3.
And I think that it sort of metastasized around season 3, 4, 5. Lindsay being like, I don't want these new girls in because I feel threatened.
Yeah.
And ever since then, it's been Paige being like, I gotta get revenge.
And I would argue Paige has gotten her revenge. I do think, like, she's one of the most popular people on Bravo. Yeah. I mean, Andy posted a photo from the 15th anniversary of Watch What Happens Live that was, like, the first slide was him, Craig, and Paige.
I mean, everyone who rewatches is like, Paige is a hero and an icon in the moment. And I think that, like, she did get what she wanted, which is to be number one girl in the house.
Yeah. I cannot get over how much was, like, her apartment that she was, like, looking at renting, like, $9,000 a month.
I'm sure.
Could you believe? That's crazy. Should we go into Sierra and West?
That's really hard. Yeah, I guess we've got I mean, the Lindsay and Carl stuff seems fairly... I don't even know if it's like he said, she said, of just like, it seems to break down into an open question as to like whether or not Carl was intentionally trying to humiliate Lindsay.
Yeah.
And I think you can read that any which way. I think the Sierra and West stuff seems to be honestly like a harder question for me to understand about like what the confines of Sierra and West's relationship with was, what were the expectations, what was the exclusivity, and like who screwed over who.
Yeah, actually, I want to touch right back to Carl and Lindsay before we go to Sierra and West, because I think like there's damning evidence with Carl and Lindsay, like that one scene that he had with his mom and his stepdad. Was kind of, to me, damning evidence against Carl, being like, this was calculated for you. Why would you sit down and have this specific conversation with them?
I think that's why when he decided to not marry her.
Yeah. With Wes and Sierra, though, I do think it's like more gray, and I think like the conversation also is more about this confusing thing about being on this show and what that means.
I want to challenge you with something, and you're not going to like it.
Okay.
When has Sierra, in her life, ever done anything interesting? Ever. Well, besides be pretty.
Being
and
cast
be
on
specific.
The Traitors. Season 3.
What was that?
Being cast on The Traitors Season 3.
So yet the best is yet to come?
Maybe. No, I'm not like a big Sierra defender. I do think I said earlier in this episode that...
I'm just wondering, this
is her best season.
But for why? What has she done?
This is her best season partially because she opened a little more up to a romance with this person, West.
So what she did was be near West, who is actually interesting?
I think maybe that's part of it. I know that, like, yeah. I'm not sitting here, like, being, like, Sierra's biggest fan.
I don't think you're going to war. But what I'm wondering is, like...
Well,
there's all of this stuff about like almost indications that West feels like he's gonna coast off of Sierra's like goodwill.
right.
And I'm wondering where that stems from.
Yeah, and I guess to your point, like, Sierra's never been the breakout star of this show. I think she, like you said, has been gorgeous, so I think she's gotten like modeling opportunities off of it.
She had sex with Austin Kroll, which some people do.
Yeah, I think like there have been bigger people to come out of it, so the narrative that like maybe West was using her to further his career, I think is interesting. But I also think, and I'll put this out there, if you think about like West's career, he was trying to get jobs in media.
Yeah.
And he landed that job at Complex that we saw him celebrate on this show.
Yeah.
So I think there's also like, I think there's some truths, and I think he admitted in this reunion that yes, of course he's using this show to like get ahead with his like personal brand and like become famous in whatever way that looks like. But to me, I'm like, all of these people are doing that.
And if he were a full socio, what he would have done is extended a relationship with Sierra in order to stay on the show. And by telling her he was not interested in her and ending it, it seems like that's actually detrimental to his position on the show, no?
I agree, I think, because like their like December dinner happened before this season premiered.
I think.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
Because we weren't talking about West like around Christmas.
No, he would have been your little Christmas present.
Your
little moustache Christmas present.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like, I think it's a complicated conversation, and I think it's like an interesting conversation about like how these shows work. I think there will be some people who like turn against West in this moment because he does look like an asshole in a lot of ways. In the framing of certain people, he does. But also, like, during the summer, they weren't exclusive or clear.
I also find it hard, like, listen, he's not saying that Sierra is not worthwhile as a person. He's saying he didn't want to pursue a relationship with her.
And it feels like he felt like she could be somebody to pursue a relationship. He brought her home. He brought her to meet the brother. He brought her to a wedding. And sometimes relationships don't work out.
And to expect him to articulate on national television why he thought, not her, it's like, it's a little bit hard. If he says it out loud, he's a dick. If he doesn't say it out loud, he's a dick. It's tough for him.
Yeah. Are we like being defenders of men in this?
I am.
Oh, no.
Famously, I'm going to war for men and their rights.
Shut up.
But whatever you want to do is fine. I'm taking up swords.
No, yeah, I mean, like, I think it's just, to me, it was less like taking a side in this conversation. It was more of just like an interesting conversation, like I said 4 times, about how this TV show works.
I know. I hate Paige that she oversimplifies this to like West hates women, like very much dumbing this down to like West does not appreciate how hot Sierra is, and not these two people were not compatible in a relationship. Like
totally,
it makes the whole experience of watching it seem dumb.
Yeah, and then the other thing that like Paige tried to like frame it as at the end, being like, well, West was texting like, oh, this is the best season of the show, while 2 of our friends are going through like this horrible breakup. And I'm saying, as a viewer, this has been the best season of the show. It's gotten the most buzz it's ever gotten, and unfortunately, this is the kind of stuff we watch these shows.
I wish Lindsay just got up and started like punching West. How dare you? But it was a good reunion episode, I think. Danielle's hair is a challenge for me.
Yeah, Danielle's
a challenge.
Danielle's a challenge, but I think like I love to kind of see just a flop on a show.
A Teddy Joe in the wild.
Oh my god. Do you want to go to our Freak of the Week and the One True Queen?
Sure.
Which I'm letting you choose both.
So, Freak of the Week, I want to talk about what is the magazine that
I think it was New York Magazine
Cohen is on the cover of? New York Magazine. That Andy Cohen cover, and listen, your feelings on Andy Cohen sexually aside, whoever lit and photographed
my
that,
feelings?
No, once.
Oh, I was like
an abstract person.
I was like, I don't have those.
They're not lighting that man to look his best. He looks like the Joker. He looks like the Joker Folie à Deux. Like, it's such a challenge. And to have a man with that many resources and that much money and that, like, honestly, like, enough stuff to work with to make him look like a psychotic murderer is clownery.
Yeah, I mean, like, the thing is, like, he's a good-looking man. He looks great, like, in an Instagram story, like, that he posts in the morning wearing, like, his, like, beloved tie-dye hoodies or whatever.
Ugh. Yep.
It's the lighting. It's the, like, it's stage makeup.
It's Folie à Deux. Like, he's really, like, it looks... Did you do high school theater?
Oh, so I did for one day, and then my best friend accidentally somehow ripped the curtain on our high school stage, so we never went back.
What it serves is, like, me as Model the Tailor in Fiddler on the Roof.
Sure.
But not in the moment, of course. At 1 a.m. when we're at a Waffle House.
Yeah.
Doing a little cast party.
Yeah.
And the makeup has really been caked into the wrinkles. And everything is very set. Like, it's giving theater at Applebee's during the appetizer portion of the evening.
I think that's interesting, and I would love to hear from people who were in high school theater. Okay, because we both grew up in the South, so, like,
Yeah.
Waffle House was a big part of our culture, but I
Sure.
feel like the memes that always come out are people specifically talking about IHOP, which we never really did.
No, that was not a part of my life cycle. Steak and Shake, was
Oh,
Steak and
yeah,
Shake part of yours?
Of course.
And if you got out before 10, Applebee's had a half price apps from like 10 to 12.
Sure.
And so you would go and have an appetizer tower
Yeah.
with your closest and dearest. And
I think we
yeah.
had an Applebee's that we did go to, but it was a little further than, like, the Chili's, which was a big part of our culture.
Chili's.
And then I worked at Cold Stone, so a lot of the high schoolers came to my Cold Stone, and we all hung out after I cleaned up and got off my shift.
Yeah. All these things, again, were in driving distance of Brittany Cartwright, who is going on date night, like,
Yeah.
who is just pretending like she lived in the woods. But yes.
Yeah, mine were not in driving distance of Brittany, more in driving distance of Kim Zolciak.
Beautiful. Woman who has dyed her hair beautifully.
She looks like Patty Stanger. Who is, like, kind of, like, older than you would think she is, and she looks... When you see a non-Facetune photo of her, she actually, like, looks amazing.
Would you say she's serving C?
I wouldn't go that far. Speaking of serving C, though, let's get to our, like, little one true queen.
So, the Luann's media tour of her cabaret tour in London right now, or London or broader England, is so amazing. Watching Luann walk out to, like, a stadium full of people.
Like a huge festival.
A huge festival, and just really, like, just do it. And she seems so happy. And she's giving interviews to British Vogue about, like, how she gets ready for her tour. It's so good.
Yeah, my friend Gemma, who lives in Germany, sent me the British Vogue thing, and he was like, is she possibly like the most relevant housewife at this point?
Regardless, she's the most charismatic and the most beautiful.
Yeah.
And I never thought I would be so happy just to see her, like, live around.
I know. When I saw photos from the Watch What Happens Live 15th anniversary thing that happened at the Boom Boom Room, I guess last night, I was thinking, the person missing from this event is Luann, but good to know that she was busy in the UK, so she couldn't be at the Boom Boom Room.
I will say, how do you feel about the fact that Bethany is being denied entrance to Chanel stores across the globe, and Luann is appearing at festivals?
Bethany's done...
do you feel like this is right, just right?
Yeah, Bethany's done 30 TikToks about this Chanel thing. It's so embarrassing, but it's so wild how far we've come.
And I'm happy we're here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, thank you, P, for returning to the show. We love you.
Thank you, Simon, for having me. Love Simon.
Do you want people to follow you on, like, socials?
Not really.
Okay.
Like, you can find me on P. Schlarm, and mostly on Instagram or the website formerly known as Twitter.com.
I will warn, it sometimes does get scary in that
It's
space.
really scary, you guys. I'm so sorry.
Actually, a fun activity is to look at your replies to see who you're going after that day. Sometimes it'll be like Megyn Kelly, but then sometimes it'll be like a random mutual, like gay mutual.
Yeah. It's not well, and I don't recommend that you do it. I feel like you should spend your time donating to a charity about, like, finding homes for dogs or something. Don't follow me.
Okay, yeah, don't follow him.
I'm not worth it.
Anyways, go to cometthroughqueen.com.
Follow Brendan.
No, don't follow me either. Go to cometthroughqueen.com to, like, hear all our shit. Go to our Patreon.
Follow Lindsay Hubbard.
Yeah, love us, please retweet.
Please retweet.
See you next week.
Bye.
I wanna see ya come through, Queen.